All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to reconvene the town council meeting. All of those council members, with the exception of Councilmember Rivera, are present, and Mayor Toborg is not present as well. The next item, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you can and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much. Before I get to the next item, public comment, there was a request by a council member to read into the record a statement which we have read into before. As you may be aware, during the Pride Fest event, 4 individuals were arrested by citation. The criminal proceedings will be held in the Town of Park Municipal Court due to the fact that the town's prosecutors will be handling these pending criminal cases. It is unethical for the town, either through elected representatives or staff, to comment regarding pending criminal charges. And just to add to that, if the court cases have happened, council has not been briefed on these matters. So with that, public comment. No action will be taken on these items. Public comment is an opportunity for town residents and other interested individuals to speak about items that are not on the agenda. This time period is limited to 30 minutes. If there's additional public comment, we will accommodate as many speakers as possible, or as many speakers as there are available after our agenda. And the first individual I have is Tina, please.
Good evening, Tina from Parker. In reviewing the Freedom of Information Act, I had questions on why the town of Parker's guidelines aren't consistent with that. Under FOIA, there's 2 free hours and before the fees start kicking in when doing a request for information. And then it also says that the review costs shall include only the direct costs incurred during the initial examination of a document for the purposes of determining whether the documents must be disclosed under this section or the purposes of withholding any portions exempt from disclosure under this section. Multiple people have requested the same information on Quora. I happened to do it before the August 4th event of the Pride Fest of grooming children on public property at a public event. And I received some of that information. So that was already researched and sent to me. So when additional people asked for the exact same information, they were told that they would be charged fees anywhere from $300 to $700. Well, if the information was already researched and it's a simple copy and paste into a new email, why is that information not being shared with citizens? It doesn't seem to be very transparent. And we're not seeing the accountability. And we really want a public meeting that we can ask questions. Now, I understand that you have scheduled a study session, so at least you're taking some type of actions, but that's not what we're asking for. We are asking for a public meeting to be held where we can ask questions and we expect answers. We expect transparency and we expect accountability. And I understand that you're trying to say that you won't answer any questions because there's criminal charges pending. I get that. No one's asking about the trespassing charges. We're asking how much did it cost for the police presence of the snipers and the canines and the drones and the big vehicle or whatever you call it, the command center, to be out there that day, and who is paying for it? That has nothing to do with the criminal charges and everything to do with taxpayer funds. We want transparency and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next individual, Meredith Rudolph, please.
Good evening. I'm Meredith Rudolph. I live in the town of Parker. I went to school in Parker, went to grade school and high school, and I'm still a resident and taxpayer of Parker. I'm not sure if you are aware, August 20th of 2024, the Douglas County Republican Party, the Executive Committee, passed the following resolution. A resolution to ban adult cabaret entertainment in front of children. Adult cabaret entertainment is defined as adult-oriented performances that are harmful to minors and feature topless dancers, go-go dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators, and similar entertainers. This was signed and passed unanimously with the Douglas County Executive Committee, Republican Executive Committee. Whereas the Executive Committee of Douglas County Republican Party, DCR, is charged with ensuring the DCR reflects the will and direction of the Republican Party with the intention to protect the children. This measure bans letting anyone underage go into any show, exhibit, sorry for mispronouncing that, or other presentation in front of a live audience which in whole or in part depicts or simulates nudity, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, or specific sexual activities. This includes lewd contact or lewd exposure of prosthetic or imitation genitals or breasts, shows appealing to prurient, shameful, or morbid interest, and patently offensive displays without serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for the age of the child present. All ages. Therefore, be it resolved, the DCR Executive Committee advocates for the protection and well-being of the children is one of the highest priorities of society in general, regardless of party affiliation or ideological differences. The DCR is committed to ensuring our local policies reflect this priority. This specifically addresses shows on government property to include, but not limited to, places such as public schools, public libraries, county fairs, city or county parks, and community centers. This will include spaces that are funded with taxpayer dollars and may or may not include security with town, city, or county police personnel or assets. Be it further resolved, the DCR Executive Committee opposes adult cabaret entertainment in front of children. It is contrary to the values of Douglas County. It is contrary to the values Douglas County holds dear, as it poses risks to safety, privacy, and protection of the rights and well-being of all children. So, if you are a Republican, you've been tasked with following with what your constituents want and who you are representing. And I'm just specifically saying this to the Republicans, but I believe for the decency of Parker, Colorado. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next one, Amy. Is there an Amy?
Hi, good evening. Hope y'all are doing well. What I want to talk about before I begin is that this isn't about the rights of a certain class of people. This is about the rights of children. One of the things that I hope we can agree on as a community is that when a man misappropriates my gender in order to dress up like a woman and read to children, that's a little strange. But we do have the First Amendment, so here we are. You, as a town council, decided that this was appropriate. You decided that people who entered could get arrested just based on whatever this organization decided was trespassing. The courts will eventually, hopefully, be in those that were arrested's favor. With that being said, some of us in the community are trying to get some facts because the town council doesn't wish to provide them. They were not forthcoming before the event, and I know this because I emailed and had to deal with the town manager. I emailed the town council, and I was directed to the town manager. So pass the puck of responsibility, right? So I emailed the town manager, hey, what's up? Where's the contract? You know, what are the parameters? by the way, can we get on clarification the difference between community event and special event? Didn't really get that. So now we're doing chorus, right? Chorus. Just to let you know, the town of Parker charges $41 per hour for chorus. For 2 chorus that were specific in nature, I was charged $372. Just to let you know, Colorado's Attorney General's office states that broad general requests, they'll generally try to help the core requester out, to try to narrow it down, to keep outrageous expenses. So here's my question to the town council. What is the town hiding? Why are they making this prohibitively expensive? I've done chorus to DCSD, the town of Castle Rock, commissioners, the sheriff's office. Y'all's fees for just 2 chorus, without a doubt, is the most prohibitively expensive. So something to think about. Also to think about, I hope you all pray on what it means to protect children, to protect the sanctity of being a woman. Please think about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the end of my list. Is there anybody else who would like to come up and speak in front of us tonight? Seeing no movement, I will close public comment at 7:11. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. The next items are reports, items, and comments from mayor and council. Let's start with Councilmember Barrington, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I did just want to state for whoever feels they want to listen to this, that I just felt it was important to note that the town did recently receive multiple emails from citizens that expressed their gratitude for how the town did handle the Pride Fest. So, thank you. Didn't hear what she said, but excuse me. So on September 4th, excuse me, I helped with a council candidate meeting where the November ballot order of the candidates was decided. And then on the 5th, I had an Energy, Environment, and Natural Resource Committee meeting where we heard from the U.S. Department of Energy and nuclear energy. And on the 10th, I attended a chamber lunch bunch event. And I think that is it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hendricks.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Just attended the Parker Senior Center board meeting due to my liaison responsibilities last week. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilkes.
So on September 4th, I had the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee meeting where they talked about different things that were going on in the community. They had our Superintendent Aaron Kane there to talk about some ballot initiatives that are going to be coming forward, hopefully to help our school district. And then we also had Commissioner Abe Layden there talking about some things that are coming down the pipeline that he's hoping to do when it comes to economic development and how to partner with the chamber and different things like that. So interested to see what comes forward from those. On September 9th, I had the Douglas County Youth Initiative board meeting where we discussed our upcoming youth congress. We have a little bit of a hiccup with the location on that, so I think we're switching locations so we can keep the date the same. And then on Friday, September 13th, we had the Chamber of Commerce Wine Walk because they are back, and it was the first one of the season. And we had, I think the reports are about 700 people that were there, so that was phenomenal. And the amount of praise that people gave to have Wine Walks back was really just humbling to be a part of, and I enjoyed that. Other than that, I'm good.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hefta.
Thank you. I attended and went with my children to the Patriots Day, the Parker Folds of Honor by Stonegate. That was a beautiful display. Next, I went to the Colorado Municipal League Fall Update Dinner with our district, and we exchanged ideas from all the other local municipal governments here in our area with Councilmember Rivero. Michelle Kivila, our town manager, hosted the Big Picture meeting at the Parker Arts Center. and I was there at that meeting as well with the most of the staff of the town of Parker. There was 2 different sessions for that, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. I attended the Mayor's Day of Service with Just Serve, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with my sons and with the mayor, and we spent several hours cleaning up Salisbury Park and McCabe Park for the Parker Parks and Recreation, to then remove that fire debris material. So it's a lot of stuff for them to clean up. And I have to say, we had 250 people there cleaning up this past Saturday morning. It was a great day of service, sponsored by Just Serve, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then I attended the Heroes Gala with my husband of the Douglas County Community Foundation, where our own Parker Police was there serving, and also were invited to the event as well. And this is a huge fundraiser for military, first responders, all over Douglas County, and it's a wonderful foundation that provides services that local governments cannot to folks all over Douglas County. So it was a great week. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. My updates, on the 4th, I had a DRCOG work session. We were updated on the regional housing needs assessment. I believe Parker is going to get an update as well in a future study session. On the 5th, E470 has a new executive director, Joe Donahue. So I facilitated an introduction via Zoom with DRCOG Executive Director Doug Rex. Everybody here in the Denver region, transportation-wise, works together, and it was important that the E470 board felt enough to introduce Joe to Doug, and hopefully we get good things out of that. And that's the end of my report. With that, the next item. The consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion vote. There will be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless council votes to remove an item for individual discussion. Ordinances on the consent agenda are for introduction only and will not be removed for discussion. And with that, I am happy to entertain a motion.
I move to approve consent agenda items A through I.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Wilkes and a second by Councilmember Hefta. Councilmember Barrington, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Dyak votes yes. Councilmember Wilkes?
Aye.
And Councilmember Hefta?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Unanimous. We appreciate that. Moving on to the next item, the next section of our agenda, ordinances. Ordinance number 9.378, second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the statement of responsibilities regarding preparation of an environmental assessment for the Douglas County Regional Habitat Conservation Plan between the Board of County Commissioners and the County of Douglas, the Town of Castle Rock, the Town of Parker, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, and ERO Resources Corporation. Mr. Krabchik.
Hello, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. This item, the lengthy title, is to execute a statement of responsibilities regarding the preparation of an environmental assessment for the Douglas County Habitat Conservation Plan. In 1998, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service listed the Preble's meadow jumping mouse as a threatened species. Any disturbance or construction within mouse habitat without prior approval from U.S. Fish and Wildlife is considered an unlawful take of habitat. In response to this, Douglas County, Castle Rock, and Parker, who we'll refer to as the permittees, entered into a habitat conservation plan with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife to receive an incidental take permit for future construction activities and disturbances within the mouse habitat. This plan estimated the likely impacts from projects from the permittees over the HCP duration and mitigated for these impacts via the protection of habitat on land owned by the permittees. Impacts from permittee projects are reported yearly to U.S. Fish and Wildlife to ensure we remain under the impact threshold set by the HCP. The HCP and the incidental take permit were issued in 2006 and included a 10-year duration with an option to extend. As the permittee's impacts were remained well under the threshold originally set by the HCP, U.S. Fish and Wildlife administratively extended both the HCP and the take permit. We were currently about 25% into our total mitigation budget, essentially. Preble's mouse habitat within Parker is also called the riparian conservation zone. This is demarked on this map in the purple area along the Cherry Creek corridor. The majority of the habitat resides within the 100-year floodplain. Since its issuance, the Habitat Conservation Plan has been effective and an efficient way to permit town projects that impact mouse habitat. In comparison to the FEMA floodplain or Corps of Engineers wetland permitting, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife HCP provides pre-approval for projects, pre-approval of project impacts within the mitigation threshold. This eliminates lengthy delays for individual project permitting. Over the years, administration of the HCP by U.S. Fish and Wildlife has become a little more flexible, and the accounting of mitigation bank and annual reporting has become a bit easier. To ensure these beneficial practices remain consistent over the years through staff turnover, Douglas County, Castle Rock, and Parker are proposing an HCP renewal and minor amendment to U.S. Fish and Wildlife. This renewal will extend the terms of the HCP an additional 30 years. The permittees have been in coordination with U.S. Fish and Wildlife on the renewal and minor amendment since 2021, ironing out some of the details of the administration. This agreement with the ordinance is the first formal step into beginning the HCP renewal and minor amendment process with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Before renewing, U.S. Fish and Wildlife must conduct an environmental assessment on the impacts of renewing the HCP. And this environmental assessment is created by a third-party consultant under the direction, guidance, and approval of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, but paid for by the permittees. It is anticipated the EA will result in a finding of not likely to adversely affect and move the process to a public comment period, after which the new HCP and take permits could be issued. Oops, sorry. You mind going one more? Thank you. While the agreement outlines the process and timeline for performing this EA, it is not a contract, and it does not lock the permittees into submitting or completing the assessment once started. Work on the EA can be stopped by the permittees at any time. Contracting with ERO for the creation of the EA will fall under a standard town procurement process, and this contract is split between the three permittees, Douglas County, Parker, and Castle Rock. No contracts are executed with the signing of this agreement. As such, staff recommends approval of Ordinance 9.378. And I gave you a few cute pictures. So the Preble's mouse has really long back feet that help it jump, and it can jump about 3 vertical feet high. It's kind of like a little bunny rabbit mouse, and they hibernate 7 to 8 months out of the year, so they are very fortunate, I guess. That sounds not so bad when you have young kids.
Great.
All right, any
Mr.
questions?
Thank you, Mr. Kravchuk. Any questions on this side? I'm going to sort of, Councilmember Hefta.
Just so we paint the full picture of this.
Yes.
Is it the Preble's jumping mouse?
Yes, it's Preble's meadow jumping mouse.
And is the Preble's jumping mouse listed as a U.S. endangered species under the Endangered Species Act of 1973?
It's listed as a threatened species,
Yes.
correct?
And so therefore, this is federal law, and basically, can the town or the state ignore this matter?
Not to my knowledge, just because it's codified in the actual federal law and isn't a administrative procedure for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So that's my understanding, correct?
Yes, you would be correct on that. Just to elaborate, it would be 16 United States Code 15, Section 1531. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. Councilmember Wilkes?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks? Good question. Councilmember Barrington?
Are there any like key milestones or timelines for the creation of the approval of this?
Yes, so for the EA itself, we are anticipating 3 to 4 months for the creation of the document. At that point, probably another month through U.S. Fish and Wildlife for them I don't know, dotting their I's and crossing their T's. And then it goes out to public comment, which I believe is 90 days. And then it could be issued after that, is my understanding. And we are currently working under the old incidental take permits. They have been extended. So we are currently covered still.
Thank you.
Great. Seeing no more questions here from the dais, I will open it up for public comment. Anybody who has comments on this item, please proceed to the dais at this time. There is absolutely no movement. So we're going to close public comment. Thank you. And throw it back to council for last comments. Councilmember Hefta?
Just thank you for your thorough research on this, Michael, and thank you for researching all the laws and for this agreement as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilkes?
No, I appreciate the work. Thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Thank you for your presentation.
Councilmember Barrington?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. And with nothing else, I'm happy to entertain a motion on this item.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.378 on second reading.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Hefta, a second by Councilmember Hendricks. Councilmember Barrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Diak is yes. Councilmember Wilkes?
Aye.
Councilmember Hefta?
Yes.
So we have unanimous 5-0 vote. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Krabcheck. The next item, ordinance number 9.379, second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Town of Parker and the Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County regarding cost sharings for a drone show. Ms. Spain.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and
Good evening.
council members. My name is Brooke Spain. I'm the Community Events Manager for the Town of Parker. Staff was presenting an intergovernmental agreement between the Town of Parker and the Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County regarding cost sharing of the drone show finale at the 2024 Parker Fall Fest to be held on Saturday, September 28th, 2024. Earlier this year, Douglas County staff contacted town staff and expressed an interest in partnering with the Town of Parker, specifically offering to supplement the town's current signature events funding with Douglas County funds. Douglas County has agreed to contribute $17,500 payable to the Town of Parker to help cover the $35,000 drone show expenses. In exchange for paying for half the cost of the drone show, the Town of Parker is acknowledging Douglas County as a partner in hosting the drone show finale and offering on-site booth presence. Staff is seeking approval on the intergovernmental agreement. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hefta, any questions?
Yes, that was very generous and kind of Douglas County. They reached out to you and
Yes,
wanted to
they did.
offer their support.
Yes, they did. They are currently in other agreements with other of our neighbors, Highlands Ranch, for their fireworks show. So they wanted to help us with some of our costs.
Thank you for your great cooperation and relationships with Douglas County, Brooke.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Wilkes?
No, this is the thing that the information we received. This is the essentially the IGA that where they're contributing funds for. Okay, just wanted to make sure we're talking the same thing. So
Yes.
I'm good. Thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Do we know how many drones we're talking about?
We're doing 250 drones.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Councilmember Barrington?
I can't think of any questions. Do we need to spell out a thank you message with the, the drones?
There you go. All right.
Might be a request.
Looks like no more questions up here. Happy to open it for public comment on this item. If there's anybody who has any question or any comments on this item, please approach the dais at this point in time. Staggering. No movement. We will close public comment and bring it back to council for last comments or deliberation. Councilmember Hefta.
I appreciate the great relationship and cooperation that Parker has with our Douglas County.
Great. Councilmember Wilkes.
No, this is wonderful. Being able to have the drone show and also being able to have this community event that we do. I love that you guys have found a way to put it together and now found a way to collaborate. So thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks.
I echo my fellow council members' remarks. Thank you.
Councilmember Barrington.
I think it sounds like a great partnership. Thank you.
All right. With no further comments or deliberation, I'm happy to entertain a motion on this item.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.379 on second reading.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Hendricks, second by Councilmember Wilkes. Councilmember Barrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Yes.
Councilmember Dyak is a yes. Councilmember Wilkes.
Aye.
Councilmember Hefton.
Yes.
So we have a 5-0 vote in favor. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Spain. The next item is ordinance number 9.380, second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the intergovernmental agreement regarding joint management of Proposition 123 funding and credits by and between the Douglas County Housing Partnership, Douglas County, the City of Castle Pines, the City of Lone Tree, the Town of Parker, and the Town of Castle Rock. And you are not Mr. Matthews, Mr. Fusa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. A poor imitation of Mr. Matthews.
No,
I
you're
hope to
good.
do as good a job with this presentation as he would. He's out sick today.
Hope he gets better.
So thank you. I'll pass that along. So I'm here for agenda item 5C, ordinance number 9.380. On the agenda, described as an ordinance to approve the intergovernmental agreement for joint management of Proposition 123 funding and credits between Douglas County Housing Partnership, Douglas County, the Town of Parker, and other member jurisdictions. So by way of background, Mayor Pro Tem and council members, you may recall that Proposition 123 is an affordable housing initiative that the voters of the state of Colorado approved at statewide election in November 2022. As a result of that, it directs 0.1% of the state's income tax revenue to assist in the development of affordable housing and affordable housing activities across the state. Those revenues are deposited into a state affordable housing fund. After careful consideration and discussion with the council, the town filed a commitment to participate in Proposition 123 in October of 2023, so slightly less than a year ago. With the filing of that commitment, the town council directed staff to work with the Douglas County Housing Partnership and other member jurisdictions of the partnership on an intergovernmental agreement to establish how to administer compliance with Proposition 123, including the distribution of affordable housing credits. I think by way of further background, although the slide is entitled Participation, kind of some numbers. Proposition 123 requires those jurisdictions that participate to commit to a goal for the creation of affordable housing in their jurisdiction. So in this table, bottom line as a total, that Douglas County Housing Partnership, the town, and its other partners have a 3-year goal of creating 1,023 new affordable housing units across the county through this regional approach and partnership. Of that number, the town of Parker's commitment is 224 units over that 3-year period. Both Douglas County and the town of Castle Rock have a substantially larger goal given their larger populations. Proposition 123 and the town's approach with its partners is predicated on this regional aspect and implementation of Proposition 123. As part of the intergovernmental agreement, the Douglas County Housing Partnership will coordinate administration and membership and the implementation activities of the member jurisdictions, including the town. So what comes of this? What are the potential benefits? By taking this regional approach in participating in Proposition 123, the partners, including the town, will receive additional grant funding from the state. That funding can be used for technical assistance, for additional down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. It can be used to support affordable housing developments of all kinds throughout the county, and other activities include what's known as land banking. So the partnership can work with the partners, including the town, to purchase and reserve land for future affordable housing development and activities. Not saying that will happen in the town, but it is an eligible activity. To date, the town's participation in this regional approach with its partners has generated greater than $9 million in additional state funding coming to Douglas County and the partnership, including the town, to support additional affordable housing activities across the county. So what does the IGA say? You have it in your packet. You've seen many IGAs over the years. To summarize, the IGA establishes the commitments of all the parties, including the town, about the allocation of affordable housing credits. So you may recall in the table I showed a few slides ago, the town's 3-year goal is 224 housing units. If the town does not meet that goal at the end of 3 years, but the partnership through this regional approach exceeds the overall goal of 1,023 housing units, the town may benefit by having some of those excess housing units, which are credits in this instance, allocated to it for compliance purposes. The same goes for all the other participating municipalities. Secondly, the Douglas County Housing Partnership has committed to being the administrative mechanism to distribute those affordable housing credits. That will be done by board review and action, which involves votes of all the board members and partners, including the town. The IGA also authorizes the Housing Partnership to seek and apply for funding for affordable housing activities, including future projects. It also obligates the Housing Partnership to track projects and programs and to submit all required reporting to the state for compliance purposes. And then finally, the IGA is structured so that it renews unless it's terminated by mutual consent of the parties. So IGA status, where the town is proposing to be in this boat together with the Housing Partnership, the county, and all the other municipalities in Douglas County. The Douglas County Board of Commissioners approved their participation by IGA in mid-August. And then other municipal members, including the City of Lone Tree, the Town of Castle Rock, and the City of Castle Pines, have over the past few weeks also approved participation in the IGA in September. So, having gone through all of that, the staff recommendation is that the Town Council approve Ordinance 9.380 for the IGA, which would provide for the administration and joint management of Proposition 123 funding and credits. And with that, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fusa. We'll start with Councilmember Barrington. Any questions for Mr. Fusa?
I guess to simplify this, so let's say the town is, we need to have how many? 274?
So, Councilmember Barrington, the 3-year goal is 224 units.
And if we don't meet that, but Douglas County has more than they needed for their
For meeting their goal.
goals, okay, they can share those back with
Right,
us
those
as a town.
surplus credits would be shared among the participating jurisdictions, including the town. So we may get some credits back to help us meet our goal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Wilkes?
So out of the 224 units, that's our goal. Is that in addition to what we already have existing, or does what we already have existing play into that number?
So the goal is new units, so those would not be existing units. Those would be new units created over the 3-year period through the end of 2026.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hafton?
And a couple of questions. Can that be a variety of housing choices?
Yeah, it can be a variety of housing choices and types under the rules of the program.
Such as condominiums?
It could be
townhomes?
for sale condominiums if they're affordable under state law. It could be detached homes if it's affordable under state law. It could be rental housing as well. So a full spectrum of housing types and opportunities.
And if you will, just give me a little latitude on this. If the town of Parker did not file a commitment to participate in this regional housing program. We did file that commitment, but could you just briefly explain what the consequences would be to the town of Parker on the financial and housing side of this if we did not file that commitment to participate in this?
Good question. I think I would categorize the consequences kind of in two buckets, so to speak. One would be that if the town had hypothetically elected to not participate in Proposition 123, the town would receive no funding from the state for affordable housing support and activities, and the partnership would not receive as much money as it's currently has received to date and will receive in the future if the town had elected not to participate. So the town's participation with the other partners, and all municipalities in the county are participating, maximizes the amount of state funding that comes locally to Douglas County to support affordable housing activities. And those housing activities range for everything from technical assistance, where staff at the housing partnership may help first-time home buyers who may not know how to navigate the housing market. It could be down payment assistance for first-time home buyers meeting eligibility criteria. And it's also having new projects that create additional affordable housing opportunities of all types throughout the county.
And if you will, one more question.
And the second, so that's
Thank you.
kind of that the first bucket would be less funding. The second bucket would be the town would not have any resources coming from the state to help us at the local level within town limits and the town boundary, if that answers your question.
Unaffordable housing.
Unaffordable housing, correct.
And then, if you will, can we talk about the individuals that are served by affordable housing, such as this includes first-time
So,
police officers?
So who
Could
is
you-
served by
Yes,
these
please.
kinds of
Thank
activities
you.
and programs? Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Hefta. So the type of people and residents of the county and the town served by programs and projects supported by Proposition 123 include everybody from first-time homebuyers, whether they're single or couples or a family, to senior citizens who live in the community. They include people who have been longtime residents of both the town and the county who were either looking to move into an affordable housing unit if they've been priced out of the market, or let's say they're moving down from a big house on acreage that they no longer wish to maintain and can't afford. It helps working people, so think, and middle-class people, think everybody from residents of both the town and the county working in the retail sector, which tend to be lower wage, lower paying jobs, to kind of other middle-class working professionals like teachers, nurses, firefighters, police officers, service workers for local government. All of those are eligible, but there's no government reservation here. These are just examples that I'm giving. Certainly, people working in the private sector, whether it's retail, service, professions, if they meet the eligibility criteria and the income limits, can avail themselves of technical assistance, down payment assistance, and housing units created in new projects of all kinds through these resources the program's bringing to the county and the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wilkes?
Yeah, just one more technical question. So when reading through the packet and reading through the IGA, the only thing I noticed is there isn't an expiration date on the IGA. So obviously this is our 3-year goal, but like we were talking about, if Douglas County has a surplus, then we would essentially get credit for those. So does the IGA continue past our 3-year goal, or?
Yes, the IGA renews
Okay.
automatically unless one or more of the parties opt out of it, which the IGA has a provision that allows that.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Seeing no other questions up here, we'll open up for public comment on this item. If there's anybody who wants to let us know what you're thinking on this item, please approach. Thank Thank you. Name and address.
Hi. Yeah, Lucas Martineau, 14225 Purple Astor Way here in Parker.
Thank you.
I just had a couple questions. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but so I'm curious, what is the definition of affordable housing, and is there like a price threshold or a rent threshold? Since I think you said there could be price or single-family homes or apartments.
Yeah. So we'll, if you ask your questions after your 3 minutes, I'm sorry, I'm going to pause this.
Oh.
After your 3 minutes, we'll run through everybody, and then we'll let Mr. Fusa address your questions.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep, and then I'll
right.
have another question. I'll just
You
throw
bet.
it out there.
Keep coming.
And then I said, my other question is, how does this go from a government mandate to actual building of housing units? So,
Is that all?
that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you very
Thanks.
much. Anybody else at this point in time? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to Mr. Fusa to address those questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Still on. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, and thank you for the questions. In terms of price and eligibility, there are two main components. The most affordable housing, whether it's existing or new, is funded by what are called low-income housing tax credits as part of the financing for any of those housing units. They typically require, and in this case for the Douglas County Housing Partnership requirements, would require that any eligible persons, whether they're individual, couples, families, that they meet certain income levels or limits in order to be eligible to purchase a new affordable housing unit if it's for sale, or enter into a lease agreement for a new affordable housing unit if it's rental. So there are income limits for anyone who would be eligible for the new housing units, which is typical and required both by federal and state law. If a unit, and then related, so that's who's eligible, there are certain income limits for a person or family or household seeking a unit. If it's in terms of pricing, if it's a for sale unit, there are certain sales price limitations that come through federal and state law that govern how much a unit could be sold for. Let's say it's an affordable condominium unit. So there would be some limitation on the sales price of the unit established through formulas in federal and state law. If it's a rental unit, there are also typically caps on the monthly rent for an affordable rental housing unit, whether it's an apartment or a condominium, a home, a detached home, an attached home. Typically, those limits attempt to cap the out-of-pocket expenditure for rental to no more than 30% of the person renting a unit, no more than 30% of their income on a monthly basis. That's kind of a rule of thumb in affordable housing.
Okay. So let me just try to articulate all of those ratios and percentages. Are they more or less federal percentages that we just have adopted because of this Proposition 123?
So they're federal, so nationwide, and statewide, that all participants, including the housing partnership, the town, and all the other local government jurisdictions, have to adhere to. Mm-hmm. We don't have discretion in that. They're established by state and federal law to participate in these affordable housing programs, whether it's for sale housing or rental housing.
So for if an applicant comes to you at community development and wants to build something, we as policy people sort of ask the question: is it zoned correctly, and does it meet or exceed the criteria? How does financing come into play? Do you, as community development, even look at what the financing or capital stack is for an applicant?
No, so the town and the community development department never get involved in the financing of a development project. That's an area that's beyond the role of local government, including the town and the community development department, to get involved with. That's always a matter for the applicant. whether it's a private applicant, a public applicant, or both if it's a public-private partnership.
So we as a town of Parker are not actively out there soliciting for affordable housing. If we get something, an application, it is based on the zoning criteria the zoning and the criteria, correct?
That's correct.
So I'm trying to answer the question for the gentleman that the reason why we're here is we have a Douglas County Housing Partnership that was created to try to look at or try to assist with not only affordable housing but other areas, which I think Mr. Fusa did in the outline in the presentation. And it's just this Proposition 1, 2, 3, I believe, was a state question here a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a state ballot initiative through the initiative of referendum process.
Yeah. So for Parker to get into the ground to build, it would have to come from an interested party who's interested in these credits, probably connecting with the Douglas County Housing Partnership. If they find some land that makes sense in Parker that's zoned correctly for their project, that is how I believe it would get out of the dirt, so to speak. Is that a fair?
That's correct. This participation in Proposition 123 through the regional approach results in the town having a goal, but I emphasize it's a goal, 224 units. It's not a mandate. The town's not required, nor is it under any obligation to create or produce that number of units. If the housing partnership or a private entity wish to pursue an affordable housing development in the town, that would simply be their option and election. The town doesn't mandate it, nor do we commit to the number. Again, that's why it's a goal and not a mandate. And we would review, when I say we, I mean staff and community development, the planning commission, and the town council would review any proposal as we would any other private proposal for compliance with zoning, consistency with the master plan, adherence to the town's development design standards, including requirements for things like parking, parks, and open space. So there are no special exceptions, standards, or shortcuts for these kinds of projects if they're proposed. They must comply with all standards that all projects in the town must adhere to.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Fusa. I will thank you for indulging me, council members. I was just trying to provide as much information, and if that doesn't take care of it, we're almost done. We can circle back with you after to make sure you get what you need. Councilmember Hefton.
I had one more question. Just from your general knowledge, so what we're proposing here is a landowner, say a rancher here in town, a farmer has sold his land to a developer, and it happens to be a big chunk of land, and now that developer is and it's zoned for mixed use residential, and now that developer wants to develop that land into condominiums or rental units. If that developer chooses this affordable housing program, does that developer have to comply with federal law on the affordable housing standards under federal law?
Yes, all developers everywhere across the U.S. have to comply with federal law if they're pursuing an affordable housing development, and also any applicable state law. So Colorado has applicable state law in a couple different ways, the Federal Fair Housing Act. But they must comply with all applicable federal, state, and local law. And I think back to my prior answer, is any developer proposing the kind of project you hypothesize, Councilmember Hefta, would have to comply with the local master plan as to an appropriate use at the site or not, local zoning, what's allowed and what's not, and then all development design standards ranging from the look of a development to parking, to stormwater management, drainage, everything that any development and any developer has to comply with. The rules are the same for everybody. And the bar in Parker is pretty high in terms of quality development.
And just another question. The majority of condominiums or townhomes or apartments here in Parker, are they market rate housing?
Oh, yes,
As
the-
opposed to affordable housing? And could you just explain the term market rate as opposed to affordable? Would you say the majority is market rate housing, or would you say what is the percentage of actual affordable housing units in Parker overall?
So, couple questions in there.
Sorry.
So, market rate versus affordable. So, at least for me as a community development professional, planner by training, when I say market rate, what I mean by that is that the price, for sale price, if it's a for sale home, or rental price, if it's a rental home, is dictated by the market, and basically by the interaction of supply and demand, and what the market places a value on that housing unit, whether it's for sale or for rental. And government has no role in that. When we say affordable, from a community development perspective, what we mean by that are housing units, whether they're for sale or rental, and they come in both varieties and flavors, where typically their financing includes federal low-income housing tax credits. Those tax credits have certain requirements that come with them as to pricing to ensure affordability. And so they have certain limitations and standards if it's for sale price, and certain standards and limitations if it's rental, for rental price. In addition to that, there's also income limits for the person either buying a for sale unit or a person renting or leasing a rental unit. Those are all contained in federal law and to some degree in state law, and they control. The town of Parker doesn't have any of those standards or laws. It's all federal and state law. But when we say affordable housing, it's the federal and state government putting in money, actual money, to support the creation of new affordable housing. And because they're putting in money, they require certain standards, both as to sale price, rental price, and income limits for the person buying it or leasing the unit. So there is some government involvement, I think, would be the key point versus market rate.
And just the second question, just because you've been here, what, a while now?
Forever.
Forever, okay.
No, not forever.
So you have a general knowledge of the housing market here in Parker. What would be a ballpark percentage of actual affordable housing that we actually have in Parker, if you could put it in any type of
So
terms?
here's my caveat. I've not done that research.
Okay.
Council member have to, so I'm reluctant to give a number or a percentage. But what I can say accurately and safely say is that the vast majority, well over 95% of all housing in the town is market rate without any government involvement, whether it's for sale or rental. The market dictates pricing and controls who leases or buys those units based on, the market supply and demand. There's a very small cohort or component of existing housing stock in the town that's what we would consider truly affordable, like I've just described. And it's only a couple percentage points out of 100%. But I've not done the research, so I don't want to say anything more than that, so I can be accurate.
All right.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Russo, thank you very much. I think we moved away from the IGA discussion because we just are so interested in this. Councilmember Barrington, if there's any questions, please be brief and narrow.
I just wanted to comment.
Please, absolutely.
If it's my
Let's
turn.
start the comments deliberation,
Okay.
yes.
So, as a board member of the Douglas County Housing Partnership, I get to see firsthand how this housing authority, which is what the partnership is, how they can orchestrate huge projects. And there's so much that go into every project. Could we put the screen back up? Okay, if you can't get to it, it's okay. But a lot of these projects are beautiful projects that actually have been built for senior affordable housing. They're hoping that some of this funding can also go towards some of the IDD intellectual, developmentally disabled community. But just the time and effort that goes in, it's not like, I mean, there are so few lots that are, there's no land hardly at all in Parker that's even available. I wouldn't say no land, but there's very little. So for us to actually come up with 224 units ourselves is going to be very difficult. And if we don't come up with the 224 units, we do get to borrow from Douglas County or Lone Tree or whoever else might have, we get to borrow from their credits. But it certainly does not happen overnight. And I think it's pretty exciting, though. I know the word affordable housing, it scares some people. You don't know what exactly that's going to look like. But this is really, it's a regional effort to create attainable housing for the middle class. And it's really to ensure that all communities can get this affordable or attainable housing credits that they need. And there's just going to be some areas that are going to need some more support, like Parker. Very well could. And so I think I'm just excited to see if they can hit these goals. But it's certainly not going to happen overnight, and it's not just going to all of a sudden appear in somebody's backyard.
All right, Councilmember Hendricks.
No comments, thanks.
Councilmember Wilkes.
No, I appreciate the goals, and I appreciate, that everybody's working together to try to make housing attainable. So thank you.
Councilmember Hafton.
Thank you for answering all my questions.
All right. All right, with no more comments or deliberation, happy to entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.380 on second reading.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Hendricks, second by Councilmember Barrington. Councilmember Barrington, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Dyack is yes. Councilmember Wilkes?
Aye.
Councilmember Hafton?
Yes.
We have a 5-0 affirmative vote. Thank you, everyone. With no further items before us, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:02. Thank you.